Hey everyone, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we've finally got the full water-cooled all AMD build finished. And that is, we've got a 3900X and a 5700 XT, which is vertically mounted, as you'll see in a moment, fully water-cooled, all hanging off of an MSI X570 meg board. So yes, we are finally here with our all water-cooled, all AMD build. It is a 3900X and a 5700 XT, but under full water. Now this is the final in a trilogy of a set of systems that I've done. The first one was the lowest price one, which was a 3600 and then a 5700 XT, which you might think, you know, why did you mix those? But it's more about the cheaper CPU and then spending more money on your GPU. We then did another one with the 3900X and the same 5700 XT, but we spent more money on the case and we spent more money on the cooling. And I'll put the links underneath and up above for you, so you'll be able to see them in the description and you'll be able to see them pop up above. And then that one, like I said, we spent much more money on cooling and making it look pretty. And then with this one, which initially my plan was to have a 3950, but I've run out of time, so we've now gone with the 3900X, and you may even get another one out of me later on with the 3950 in it. Might be a slightly different spec, but you never know. Anyway, so this is the final in the trilogy where we have gone full water. Where we've gone full water, water cooling is obviously about making everything look pretty just as much as good temperatures. And I have only gone for a single 360mm radiator in the front, and that was to keep the hosing on the inside clinically clean. So what I have only used a soft hose for this, so flexible tubing, but it's been because what I've done is I've gone for the cleanest look that I can do. And you do get a couple of little views of the hosing at the top front coming down the side of the fans, but the most of it is just what comes up to that CPU block. And the reason why I've been able to make it look this tidy is, yes, the white fittings or the angled fittings, but the fact that the GPU in the case is vertically mounted, it means I've pretty much hidden the hose behind that, and it cleans it up no end. And what this also does show you is, if you are at home a little bit apprehensive about will you be able to make the bends for your hardline accurately, if you think about your build beforehand, you might be able to make it this tidy, but with flexi. And admittedly, I'd probably, if I was to try and update it, I would run some hardline down and then have some 90-degree fittings at the bottom. So hard line into it, 90-degree fitting, and then a barb on the end or a compression fitting on the end, then to go into the flexible hosing. Just to have those two single parts there, that would be a great way around it. So what we have is the MSI X570 meg. We then have, and everything is hanging off of that, we have a 4.4 gigahertz overclock on there, and the temperatures are barely touching the, well, we're getting up to the high kind of 60s, nestling into 70 degrees depending on how long and we run it. If you leave it for hours and hours on end running prime, it will just about get to 70 in the end. The GPU, like this, with that block, it's staying in the 50s, which for one of these is, as you'll agree, it's lovely. The hot spots are obviously a little bit hotter there, and we were seeing high 60s for the hot spots. But for a 5700 XT, that's obviously a really good place to be, considering they're normally around the 90s. With that, we've got push-pull on the front. I went push-pull on the front. With the white LL fans, I did that specifically for lighting. Now, a lot of people will say, if you didn't do that, you could have got a rad in the roof. It became too difficult, and in reality, it ended up looking messy. So I stuck with a single rad. I've got some decent temperatures, but I did it to keep the build looking nice. We've still got a set two LLs in the roof to add that extra light. And it just helped keep things cool, calm and collected. Now I will say that with the fans and those temperatures, we weren't running them at 100%. We built it so that it would run nice and you know, stay, you know, around and abouts and keep it quiet. So the maximum fan speed that I ended up using was 1100 RPM, and with the push-pull and everything, it worked really nicely. I didn't have to turbocharge everything, and the temp stayed, as far as I'm concerned, I was very happy with it. Once you've got a set of headphones on or you're doing something on your desk, and you need to remember, when I'm going for GPU temps, I've got Unigine on loop, just constantly going round and round, stressing the GPU. I'm talking about CPU temps, then we end up using OCCT to batter that. So we're properly stressing those parts out. And it's annoying me that it keeps going off now. I really should have set the timer up slightly better. It should come on in the end. Anyway, the trials and tribulations of trying to film. Anyway, so I tuned it to be usable rather than just to try and brag about numbers. I think it works really well as well. I left the white lights on because obviously you can, white lights on the memory. So we'll talk about lighting because this is a good chance to do it. We did the white and red, as you've seen with the OC 3D lighting, just to kind of give you an idea of the capabilities of the LLs, but you can actually assign them to do multiple and dance and all kinds of stuff if you want. Now, if you go through and just go selecting different colours, there's obviously, like, you can just do all one colour if you want. And the reason why I left the memory on white was to give you a bit of contrast so that you can see how that's lighting up in the rest of the case and how the rest of the lighting kind of then effects on that. You can also set it up. There's the normal rainbow modes that you can go into. There are a couple of different ones, and these are just set profiles in the Corsair lighting software. So you can go in and you can change those really easily as well. You can also then do mental dancing ones, which I can't imagine many of you will actually want if you're going to be gaming, because it might be off-putting, but it can be cool. It definitely looks nice if you're trying to, you know, do something funky in your room or show off or something like that. So there are lots and lots of lighting options, and you can set them up custom as well. One thing that is nice is all of the lighting options are all used through iCUE. It's because we've gone all Corsair lighting, and the case, just so that you're aware, we have no lighting strips in there. That is purely fans lighting up everything else inside the case, and they do a very, very good job of it. Even with the window on. Take the window off, it's much brighter. In fact, I would say with the amount of white lighting on in there at the moment, you almost need that tinted window so it doesn't encroach into your gaming area so much. But performance was brilliant. You can click through to the website if you're actually interested in it. But the most important thing about this build is, yes, it's still going to perform the same as a 3900X and a 5700 XT. It was about the aesthetics and dropping the temperatures as well. But I've not built this with anal temperatures in mind. I've built this purely to look pretty, which is why the hoses are all hidden, why I didn't clutter things up with extra radiators. And I think it has served that purpose quite well. I will also say that using the new HydroX stuff to do it, the GPU blocks, for example, all come with all of the thermal pads and everything ready on it. So you strip your old GPU down, you plonk it on the top, you put the back plate on, you screw it in. It's literally the simplest GPU build I've ever done. And they do require props for that, because normally you have to get the thermal pads out, put them in the right places and cut them up and stick them all over the place. They've done all that hard work for you. Also, when it comes to the CPU block, the GPU block and the pump, you'll see those all light up. And they all daisy chain into each other as well, and then go into one of the lighting nodes or your Commander Pro. They just click in there with a single click once they're daisy chained together, which you might need to plan around a little bit to be able to get them to look tidy. But it actually can make life quite easy. I will say though that if you are going to go GPU, CPU and the pump, and you're going to go for that whole thing, remember the daisy chain thing when you're trying to do it, because I didn't realise at the start, and then I put it in and I was like, oh, I'm meant to, and then I looked and did the man thing and had to backtrack. But beyond that, it actually made things easy. If you are incredibly anal and you've done water cooling before, there are a few things that you might find a little bit frustrating, like with the way that the pump mounts on, and you might not be able to get it round the right way, and like I wanted the logo showing at the front of the case, but I had to turn the pump around, so I had the hoses where I wanted it. There's little things like that that people that have worked with water before might find a bit annoying, but to be honest with you, now it's in there and I'm using it, it's got to the point where I'm just like, yeah, I would have liked the logo there, but I prefer the hose round, and it's a very minor kind of, you know, compromise that I had to make. But for the ease of use, it's definitely worth those extra plus points. So, lovely quick build in reality. I spent more time moving stuff around trying to make it anal because I wanted to use soft hose, because I knew I wanted to go with crazy roots, and my ability to have been able to have bend those crazy roots just wasn't there. Also, if I'd wanted to have put the hard line in and then connectors, the HydroX stuff just isn't there at the moment. And I wanted, as anal as it sounds, I wanted to kind of keep it on point like I did with the Asus build that I did and with the Gigabyte build that I did. I kept the branding really simple, and that's what I wanted to do with this. So if you think about it, Asus got their build first, then Gigabyte got their build, and now MSI are getting their build. But with the MSI build, we've obviously got the Meg, but then I used the HydroX and rolled it all in together for our nice premium based all AMD thing. We may end up doing another one as well, like I said, with the 3950X. But the idea was to take the AMD kind of ecosystem and then give you different ideas and very different price points for you to be able to take some inspiration and then maybe use that to build some stuff at home. And if you have found any of the videos inspiring, then I would love to hear underneath. Link me in Instagram pictures, or even better, come to the OC3D forums and post up some pictures for us to have a look at. Because at the end of the day, we're all hardware nerds. We're all part of the PC master race. And I love kit just as much as you do, if not a little bit more, because I do stuff like this for fun, knowing I've only got to take it apart again. Anyway, I'm going to love you, and leave you with this, what I think is a rather beautiful rig. And it may well have wet my whistle, the pun intended, just enough, because we are getting to the point now where TTL is desperately wanting a new system, because I'm still using some kit that the rig has been on, like the hardware has been about, I think I'm on X99, which isn't that old, but I use it obviously to render videos and stuff, so I need some more horsepower now that I am fully rendering in 4K all the time. Need to get the old speed up, and I have a distinct feeling that full water-cooled is likely to make an appearance again. And if you follow me on Facebook, you're more than likely going to know what case it's going in, because I've been secretly kind of like working on stuff for a little while. But for now at least, this has been the tiniest one with our MSI fully water-cooled AMD build that we use the new Corsair HydroX stuff in. Out.